Howdy. Welcome back to Dion Talk. Welcome back to Financial Freedom for the Lazy Person. The question is, are you lazy enough to want to make work optional? Especially if rentals are boring. People love excitement. I get it. Spending money is exciting. Rentals are not exciting. Swiping the card, that's exciting. The Amazon boxes that show up like you're building a cardboard fortress, that's exciting. The dopamine hit when the delivery guy knows your name, even in another country. That's exciting. Right up until you realize you have to go back to work to pay for everything you bought. Now, the excitement looks a lot more like indentured servitude with shipping options. Meme coins? That's pure adrenaline. Nothing makes someone feel like a financial genius faster than watching a coin with a dog logo spike 300% at 2 a.m. For 5 minutes, you're positive you're about to be the next billionaire. Until the coin flatlines harder than my dating life in the Marine Corps. Then you're stuck refreshing the chart looking for a heartbeat that isn't coming back. Raises and promotions. Those feel incredible. You walk a little taller, which isn't hard when you're 3'6". You tell people you just have extra responsibilities now. And be honest, that's a trap you literally call success. It's like a carrot on a stick, except the carrot is attached to a stick tied to a cubicle. Corporate America should just hand out golden handcuffs on day one. Get rid of the suspense. Flipping houses. That's exciting. You get a big check. You feel like HGTV royalty. And for a moment, you're convinced you're going to be the next Chip or Joanna. But then, once the flip is done, you realize you're unemployed again, and the government made more on your flip than you did. You did all the work, and Uncle Sam got all that money. He didn't even help carry the drywall. Inheritances are exciting too. Now, think about that though. They come with the world's most depressing punchline. Here's a bunch of money. Sorry about the emotional devastation. But rentals are boring. Once you have long-term tenants dialed in, the good ones, they're like quiet roommates that pay their rent on time, clean the dishes, and never steal your food. You hear from them once a year when they say, hey, can we sign another 12 months? Rentals don't spike. They don't crash. They don't explode. They don't require a team of contractors who never show up. They just sit there, being predictably boring, like a dad in a recliner watching the Weather Channel for fun. And your friends and family who don't invest, try talking to them about rentals. That's deadly. They get the 1,000-yard stare. Like you just started reading the IRS publication on passive activity loss limitations. You can watch their souls leave their bodies. If you really want to end a conversation at a family gathering, forget politics or religion. Just say, so anyway, let me tell you about this cash on cash return. Silence. You could hear a binder drop. You learn quickly. Don't bring it up. People are built for entertainment, not enlightenment. But here's the thing. The freedoms that those rentals bring, not having to work, not having to wake up to an alarm clock, unless you're doing a live stream at 4 o'clock Pacific every Tuesday, and that ends up being in the morning where you're at. You're not having to ask permission to take a day off. You're not living your life on someone else's schedule. You're traveling wherever you want to go without a return ticket. Like I don't have a return home ticket yet. I have a return ticket to the one rental at a time event in Vegas in February, but I don't know where I'm going after that yet. Until then, I'll be here in Thailand, in Chiang Mai, suffering through the amazing weather and the chickens that are everywhere and the infinity pool that goes into the river and the shirts that you can buy for the cost of a Taco Bell taco, handmade. That freedom is anything but boring. Most people spend decades chasing excitement, promotions, bonuses, title changes, new bosses who act like old bosses. The annual performance review, where you get praised with words and rewarded with a 2% cost of living raise. You call it purpose. But if you have to be compensated for your purpose, you're not building a life, you're negotiating a sentence. I hear people say it all the time. I don't know what I'd do without a job. And I believe them because they've never seen the world outside of work. They've never experienced a Tuesday afternoon without stress or a weekday morning where you wake up because you're done sleeping, not because something demanded your time. Those people worry me for them, not for me, because I've been to the other side. I've lived the boring rental lifestyle long enough to know that boring is the gateway drug to freedom. Excitement is how you stay broke. Boring is how you get free. The message is simple. See past the boring. Imagine a life worth living. Don't trade decades for a paycheck that you immediately hand to someone else. Don't confuse excitement for progress. And don't let success become the cage you keep decorating instead of the door that you walk through. Rentals are boring. Freedom is not. Pick the one with the better view. That will be recorded for a video to be released on another day. The rest of this video is going to be dedicated to answering the questions of everybody who showed up in the chat today. Hopefully, I'm not going to see 100 messages of, hey, your sound is not working. The Audible version of the book, Financial Freedom for the Lazy Person, is one step closer. When you self-publish a book, you have to do the written one, so a paperback version. And then I recorded the Audible version, so the recording is done. It is ready to be released. But now I have to take each file for every chapter and put it through what Audible has this thing called ACX, which is the company that manages their quality control. So it looks at each file as you upload it. It tells you a million things you need to do to each file to make it pass their criteria. So getting it to that point will then release it. So that's the stage I'm at now. But they will not let you do an Audible book unless there's a Kindle version. So I had to get it formatted for the Kindle version, which it released yesterday or today for you. So in Kindle, Financial Freedom for the Lazy Person, access to the book there. I would appreciate the support for those people who like to read on a device instead of a paperback, which is what I did. I'm an avid reader. I used to have a goal of having a library room, right? Literally shelves lined with books, and all of the genres that I go through. I rotate through finance and real estate related stuff, mystery, science fiction, thriller, like a whole Dean Koontz section. And then I donated every one of my books to a local bookstore and went all digital. I have about 700 books in Audible and Kindle so that I have them wherever I'm at without having to have a room that's rotting. Howdy, everybody. Good to see you here. Let me pop this chat out so I could actually see it. The rest of this video will be the questions that you bring to the table. So hopefully there are some good ones that help somebody else learn something that if you're wondering it, they probably are too. Next Tuesday, I will be in Phuket. I have 2 overnight train rides between now and then to see parts of the country here. But next Tuesday, there will be a members only call after the live stream. So Tuesday, probably 6 p.m. Pacific, 6:30 to make room for some other group that people are going to. But next Tuesday, 6:30 Pacific, members only, where we learn the skill of analyzing a deal and we all jump on Zoom together to cause hate and discontent on the internet. So, Wayne Wong, howdy, good to see you here. Pudeliver, financial firefighter. Aloha Mark, crack canvas, howdy. I love boring. Boring seems to make money. It really, really does. What's the quote that you see often? It's Don't do a whole bunch of things half-assed. Do one thing whole-assed. Do one thing until it becomes boring. That's where wealth comes from. Bradley, howdy. Cracked canvas. What is the temperature in Hawaii right now? 67. What is it where I'm at? It's probably not much different. Let me see. 77 in Phuket. That's where I'm going to tomorrow. Today, Chiang Mai, it is 60 degrees. So it's warmer in Hawaii than it is here, but it don't feel like 60 degrees. Huh. Oh, it's actually 78. Nice. It's morning here. It will be a sweat-drenched day here. You know what rentals don't do? They don't reduce your pay just because you're injured. So glad I have my ADU paying rent during this time. Work provides short-term disability. But it only covers 60% of base pay. Glad to have it. I wish I had more rentals right now. Yeah, they are. My friend Alex was affected by the government shutdown. Had it was a government contract job, pay for the shutdown. If it wasn't for his rentals, he would have struggled. I don't think he was happy not getting a paycheck, but I think he was happy that he had cash flow coming in. Cracked canvas, going to be 40 degrees in Wilmington, North Carolina, the beach, later today, early morning. I wonder what the temp in Thailand is. There you go. Kindle version is out. Sweet. I'm sure to promote it. I appreciate it. Jay Molis, howdy. Late Start Wealth, howdy. Brian, howdy. From VA, sounds like a real place. Jason, good evening, and everyone from snowy Chicago. I think it snowed a little at my house in Washington too, because the power was out for a bit, but that happens anytime the wind blows. Chester, howdy. Hyder is not lazy enough. There you go, Delta Force. So howdy, Rob. What is your opinion of Facebook Marketplace for listing rentals? I got banned from Facebook Marketplace the first time I listed a rental there and haven't gone back. I use Hemlane because I put it in once, I put the information in once, and it lists the stuff. It lists the unit on 15 different platforms. I know people who have great luck on Facebook Marketplace. I don't think I'd have a problem with it. I just, for some reason, got blocked when I went to list. I'm sure somebody reported me for something made up, and Facebook leans so far left, they just hate landlords. So it's a platform I have avoided. My personal experience, my opinion, probably not factual, but it's how I feel. And you asked for my opinion. Actually said, what is your opinion? So Facebook can't sue me. The more exposure you get, the better. And I believe the better the exposure you get. So the listing itself is what matters. What photographs do you prioritize, right? Do you just put a boring, here's the front of the place, or do you have a really nice looking kitchen and you put that up front, or do you have a great view, a really nice pet friendly fenced yard? Did you take your pictures to Canva and take your yard and actually put a watermark in it that says pet friendly fenced yard? So it's really obvious. Do you have a picture of the washer and dryer or hookups easily to be seen so that if somebody looks at pictures and not the words, they'll know that it's there? Do you identify the property by things that an owner would care about? Age of building, square footage, blah, blah, blah. Or do you take the address of your rental and put it in ChatGPT and say, I'm in a rental at this address. Please tell me 5 to 10 things within 2 miles that tenants might be attracted to, and get a list of all the parks and museums and farmers markets and all the things that owners don't tend to put in their listings. And you can put bullet point 5 or 6 things in there. Don't list all of them, but put a few, because tenants rent based on lifestyle. Owners buy based on the property. Tenants look at the number of bedrooms, and then they want to see, what's my quality of life going to be like when I'm there? So then it's not so much the listing on Facebook or Craigslist or all the other platforms. It's the people who go to those platforms and they're looking at all of the listings that are available. How much does yours stand out? Martin Property. Sorry, I am ordering too much running gear. Nice. We should go for a jog someday. Buzz Tune. Howdy. Laura. Hello. Good to see you here. Howdy. Cracked canvas. You know you're rich when you wear a jacket that looks so interesting. This is a handmade shirt that literally cost, what I said in the thing at the beginning, a taco Bell taco would have cost this? What is 100 baht? Yeah, with tax, about $3. Um, 7:30. So it starts 7:30 Central, goes 1.5 hours. So I'll start my members only when that ends, and I'll just rely on Jason or Chester to text me and say, "Hey, we're wrapping up," and then we'll start it. All-nighter, howdy, good to see you here. Star Wars Mary, thank you. I appreciate it. Congratulations for that. Jen Tam, howdy, good to see you here. Stash looks great. Just need the cowboy hat to go with it now. Cowboy hat's in the room. This is what you call the scuba diving beard. You don't dive in the rivers, only the salt water. Chester, hot take. When done right, rentals are supposed to be boring. They absolutely are. I'm trying to think if I've had a tenant text or call since I've been in Thailand. I'd have to look. Hmm. One person saying, sorry, rent won't be in on the 1st. I'm going to pay it on the 3rd. Grace period's till the 5th. Very nice of them to let me know. Daughter, payment. Nope. I can't believe. Nope. I'll see if I have anything to deal with tenants while I'm on this trip because I wouldn't want to be too bored with nothing to do, except for all of the things to do. Like take a nap with a tiger. Cracked Amanda's Kindle version is out. Thank you for the announcement. I appreciate it. Michelle, the happy engagement, Tiana Chesla, thank you. The Wealth Building Journey, what is BI Mastermind? That is a group that they are in. Sounds pretty interesting. Jeremy Kirkwood, howdy. Quiet roommates, yes. County taxes are more interesting than sports ball to me, but I have been known to watch the national paint drying competition. There you go. County taxes are interesting. I have 2 properties going down this year. Thurston County, Washington, where there is no R. Yeah, that's not boring. I mean, they go down like $200 a year, so you don't even notice that on the monthly payment. But Ryan, tell someone at a party that you don't know well with a straight face that you're okay with them attending. There you go. Nice. Wayne Wong, it makes you look 10 years younger. Nice. Thanks. Good. That's not a good thing. Although being with Chesla and being in that loving relationship, it doesn't matter. But when you're in Thailand, looking older is a superpower. There's a separate channel I should make on what it's like to be in these countries. That would kill my viewership here on a real estate and investing channel. Maybe at the end of the stuff, when we tell everybody, okay, if you want to know what traveling in Thailand is like, stick around. Everybody else can leave. At the very end of the video, maybe. We'll see. Can't see the video playing Wi-Fi. Ooh, Wi-Fi seems good. Hopefully it's working. It's the Chesla factor making him younger, probably. Jeremy Cookwood. I'll give you $462 for that shirt, 28% return. Boom. Nice. Exactly. I tend to get one thing like this whenever I go somewhere. Sometimes it's the bag or the whatever, but then I'll have like, this is my 3-continent shirt. This is my 3-continent bag that's been everywhere. Hello from North Coast, California. Chris, howdy. Good to see you here. Self-education and autodidact. I'm okay with you attending this party at 7 p.m. on this Tuesday. There you go. Nice. Correct. Rentals really aren't that boring, are they, to you all? So it's a similar to it's similar to acquiring rentals is life consuming, right? You have to work, on a credit score, you have to learn to save, which is increase income, decrease expenses, grow a side hustle, whatever it is. Look at deals, hunt for deals, learn a market, learn your asset, find contractors, network, learn the skill of negotiation, meet your agents, like all of this stuff that goes into every waking minute for like 5 years. It's life consuming. That's not boring. I mean, it's a bit frustrating on how slow it takes. Like The knowledge base goes up, the experience base goes up, the cash flow goes very flat, and then heck, hockey sticks towards the end. That's a bit frustrating. That's not boring at all. Owning rentals 2 hours a month to just go, hey, did most of the rents come in? Oh, did a tenant text me about something? Do I have to text a handyman? Oh, I did get a thing, but that was at my place. My lawn care guy went and did the lawn. He offered to take the winter off, and I was like, no, you should make some money. Just pretend you're mowing. I don't care. It could be boring once you own them, but that's the goal. You want life to be exciting, not your work to be exciting or your investing to be exciting. Actually, I don't want exciting investing. Exciting means butterflies because it might drop or you might lose money. Boring rentals that just consistently make money. Super boring. So you can travel. So you can do the excursions everywhere you go and rent the ATV and apparently steal a go-kart at a largest outdoor museum that you're not supposed to use. You can do all kinds of things that are just fun. Jason, you're an avid listener, watcher. Nice. Invest average. Howdy, like the name. Rob, I thought you only caused hate and discontent at Denny's. Not yet. Although I did when I was an officer for about 8 years. We had a Caitlin's and we had a Denny's. And so when you have that inebriated person that you don't want to drive home, but you don't want to take them home for whatever reason, you just take them to a 24-hour diner, drop them off, give the waitress $5 or $10 and say, give them some food and some coffee and let them sober up. That probably caused some hate and discontent at the Denny's. Alex, howdy. I want freedom so bad I can barely stand it. That's the hardest part when you're that close, especially when you were doing it accidentally for 10 years. And had you focused in the first 5 years, we could have both been there sooner. Bradley Pax, howdy. Hey, Dion, what are some questions I should ask when interviewing CPAs? Do you focus on rental properties? I believe my CPA doesn't own rentals, but they have a branch of their office that focuses on rentals. So the person that I interact with probably doesn't own any. It's not a criteria. Are they okay with you having your taxes checked by another CPA to make sure nothing's missing? Do that 1 or 2 years in the beginning to make sure that you do have somebody that knows what they're doing. Same thing with lending. If a lender says, oh, I'm not going to give you a quote if you think you're going to shop rates, well, good, you're not going to work with me because I want people to compete for my business. How much do they charge for a tax strategy meeting? Get that in advance. How much do they charge for insurance in case you're audited? So they handle the thing for mine. It's like $145 a year on top of the fee for the filing, which I did, and I was audited in 2016. And the CPA, I think I sent 2 like short emails, like with a letter of explanation things to the CPA to handle for the audit. I didn't handle anything with the audit. So I'd find out how much they charge for their insurance if they have it. If they don't have it, I don't know if I'd use them. Because if they don't carry the insurance to do the audit themselves, it means they think you're going to be audited and they're not comfortable doing it themselves. I want somebody that's confident in their skills. I should probably make a good list of 10 questions for a standalone video on that. So it's not a knee-jerk reaction to a very important question, because that is like choosing a life partner and choosing your CPA can have a huge impact on your future. If you get a CPA who's extremely worried about red flags, oh, you don't want to claim too many deductions, oh, you don't want to depreciate everything, oh, you don't use them. The tax code is there as an incentive program. And yeah, don't push the gray areas. Don't deduct a cruise off of your rental income because you're going to all of these ports of call to look at real estate. Maybe deduct a cruise off your YouTube content because you made a bunch of videos while traveling about being on a cruise, but know your limits. And so I'm not saying a CPA who says that's a red flag, we shouldn't do it, don't listen to them. But if they red flag everything and they just want to be cookie cutter boring and they want you to do it like you took it to H&R Block and gave them a couple $100 to give you just a standard return, why waste your money on them? I want a creative one that knows the laws. What other questions have I asked my CPA? I mean, you can ask, do they invest? Do they have rentals themselves? Some people use that as a criteria. Some people use that as a criteria for their real estate agent, and I don't. I want a real estate agent that understands what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. Gives me resistance verbally or in writing, but does what I say. For instance, if I say, this property's been on the market for over 100 days. I'm going to make a 60% list offer of what they're asking. And my agent might go, that seems a bit aggressive, but let's do it. That's fine. But if he says, oh, no, that's too low, it'll hurt my reputation, then I just go to a new agent. Shop CPAs. Don't just grab one and stick with it. The first couple of years you have one done, go pay a couple $100 and have somebody else run it to see if their return would have been extremely different. And if they miss something, you can go back and ask the first one, what happened here? Maybe they have a reason. But if they just missed it, hire slow, fire fast, to steal the lumberjack landlord's quote. And then my chat moved, which I appreciate because that means more questions, more time for us to hang out here as your night starts and my morning begins. I don't even know what I'm doing today. I don't think I have a plan yet. Bradley C. So Bradley Pack, Bradley C. I lose $200 a month with a single family home renting it out. Should I sell it? So I've never sold a property. I own one single family house, but I owned it long enough to where it would cash flow once I turned it into a rental. It lost money the first year because I didn't know what I was doing. I hadn't educated myself at all. I don't own any single family houses outside of that one in Washington State because I have not seen one in over 15 years that would cash flow. Just haven't seen it. In my market, they don't cash flow. Build to rent doesn't work. The BRRRR might work. I'm not a BRRRR fan. Might work there. So if you're losing $200 a month, what can you do to increase the revenue? How do your rents compare to area average rents? Have you used the binder strategy? Are you doing something silly that I hear all the time, like renting to your aunt or your cousin or your mom or your daughter so that they get the friends and family discount and you lose money every month? But my tone of voice changed there for a second. Have you shopped homeowners insurance to make sure that you have a high enough deductible to lower your premiums, good coverage, but you can increase your cash flow by doing that? Do you have all of the utilities in the tenant's name that when it's possible, depending on your market? Is there any value add that you can do? Does that place have a den or a family room or a bonus room that you can add a closet to and turn into a bedroom? And yeah, if you're on septic, it might not count as a bedroom when you go to sell, but it can count as a bedroom when you go to rent. Would midterm rentals work better for you? More money, a little more work, right? The real estate X factor, the more risk you're willing to take, the more money you can make. The more work you're willing to do, the more money you could make. Short-term rentals, if it's legal in your area, that can increase your income. You can do rent by the room, depending on your bedroom to bathroom count. And like, there's a lot of strategies that you could look into before I would think, let me offload a property, because then you kind of have to do a few things. If you own it and it's been a rental, you're going to have possibly capital gains, depreciation, recapture. So you could get roped into a 1031, which has a strict timeline and some criteria that not everybody meets, right? 45 days to identify, then what is it? It's a total of 180 days. So however many days are left to close on the deal, you have to identify 3 properties. You have to have a third party that's going to make money. You still have to find a buyer. You still have to go all through those things. You're going to have agent fees, right? Somewhere between 6 and 8% is going to go out the door for agent fees, concessions, or things you have to fix. So have you owned it long enough for you to walk away with money? Then you can do the math on, okay, I'm going to lose money if I sell it, but I'm losing $200 a month. What's the ratio on which one of those makes more sense? So you've got some math decisions in there that only you're going to know all of the details to. I'm a fan of thinking, what can I do to increase the income of this property to decrease the expenses? Right? Is recasting your loan an option? Can you put 5, 10, or $20,000 onto the principal to your lender to lower your payment every month? Doesn't change your interest rate, just in case you've got one of those really good interest rates from 2020 or 2021. If you have a higher interest rate, are you watching rates to see if you could potentially refinance to improve that too? Like, you've got a whole bunch of levers you can pull. Without the whole picture, I can't tell you keep it or sell it. I can just give you a whole bunch of kernels of thought for you to pop in your own microwave and see what comes out. Let me know what you decide. Yeah, there you go. Big KZ, howdy from Nashville. Jeremy Kirkwood, it's like 15 degrees here with 10 inches of snow, living my best life, pretending to be in the Last Christmas George Michael music video. There you go. George Michael, good memory. Freedom Works. Good evening. Coming to you from the beautiful Peabody Hotel in downtown Memphis. Ducks say hi. Howdy. I think we got, I can't tell if they're ducks or swans here because they're so weird looking. Ducks with long, long necks here. Somebody who lived in Chiang Mai, tell me what I'm looking at. I should ask Chat, GPT, or Grok what that is. Although it will chase you if you get close enough. Delroy Samuels. 2026, I'm focused on building reserves and saving to buy my fourth unit. What do you do to take your mind off growing or acquiring more units before the time is right? Meditate. I do meditate. One of my belts is in Tai Chi Chuan, so part of that is meditation. But I also do block breathing. Trying to think of what other. So when it comes to meditate, do you ever do sound associated meditation? Where you pick a sound that you listen to for 30 minutes, 45 minutes at a time when you meditate. And then when you have 5 minutes, you can sit and listen to that sound, and it has almost the same impact as having 30 to 45 minutes of meditation. But what do I do to distract myself? So between purchases, how can I say this without messing somebody up? All right. I'm just going to say it, see how you take it. I don't want to own rentals. I don't want to buy rentals. I don't want to have tenants. I don't want to invest. I don't want any of that. There you go. Transparency. I don't want that much, much less than I don't want to work 60 hours a week. Then I don't want to stress out about having a paycheck being the only thing that's keeping me fed. And I'm a fat kid, so I like the food. I don't want the stress of losing my house if I lose my job of where I live. I don't want the stress of having a boss and an alarm clock and coworkers and customers and compliance. So of all the things I don't want, I will invest so I can have all the things I do want, which is travel, scuba, good food, hang out with fun people, game whenever I want. Like, to get to this, I had to stop gaming to come to do this because it's morning, which means the sun's coming up, which means it's almost time to go to bed because gaming is over. That's the life I want. The life I want comes from owning the rentals. So when we're in growth mode, yeah, there's some excitement about buying a property and saying, this gets me closer to that financial freedom. There are people who love the game and they want the dopamine hit of, oh, I negotiated $5,000 off the price, or I got that contractor to do the work on time, or whatever excites them. That's not my thing. My thing is I want to enjoy life. So right now, between deals, when you're increasing your income, decreasing your expenses, working on your credit score, talking to lenders to see how your lending options change every couple of months, looking at your buy box, studying your market, seeing what's changed, educating yourself. How much of life are you enjoying? And it doesn't have to be anything that costs money. When is the last time? Where did this question come from? Delroy. When is the last time you went on a hike with somebody you haven't talked to in a few years? Just said, hey, let's go for a walk. Just for the heck of it. Have you Googled or Chat GPT'd your address, not one of your rentals, but your address, and said, hey, what are 5 things to do within 3 miles of my house that I might be interested in? And see what pops up and see what there is to do out there that doesn't take money. How much of life are you enjoying? Because it's really hard to enjoy life when you're working 50 to 60 hours a week, when you're investing 5 hours a day, like you're studying your market, you're looking at deals, you're educating yourself, you're optimizing the portfolio that you have, like all that. You don't have much time that's yours. And that's why so many people get stuck in that. I don't think I'll ever retire early because I don't know what I do with my time. Because what you have, and this comes out in the math of time videos that I do, if you right now have 5 hours a day that are yours, right? You work, you commute, you sleep, you clean, you work out, you do all that stuff, but you have 5 hours if you're lucky that are yours. You're exhausted. You're so wiped out. Most of us have the energy to hold a remote and watch Netflix or a gaming mouse and game. That's it. So you can picture yourself doing. Why would you retire early? 20 hours of that, of being exhausted and sitting on a couch staring at a TV, that would suck. But if you can get your mind wrapped around, here are the hobbies that I do. For me, scuba diving, travel, gaming, whatever. Trying to make less innuendo jokes now with the Tesla thing, but build a life where work is in the way. So you can be doing some of that now. It's a great question. Omid, howdy. Hope you're enjoying your vacation. I'm not sure we're allowed to call it vacation. Mazuber says it all the time. It's a trip because it's just home for 3 months. Remember, a vacation has a return date, and I might actually come back after Vegas. I don't know. I recently found a local lender who lends to investors with 10% down, no PMI, no points, with 30-year fixed at 7.375. What do you think about it? Well, how does that rate compare to everything else? How does that payment compare to one with mortgage insurance? And do you have the 10% down, or does 20% down make more sense? An example is I have a VA loan. I can go buy 0 down, no PMI, never used it. I'm probably going to use it next year because I want to increase my levered position, but I preferred to put some money down. Does putting 10% down make it a great or good or great deal for you? Does it free up some options for you? How does that rate compare to what other interest rates you're getting? Is this an owner-occupied single family, or is it an investment like a small multifamily owner-occupied, or is it a non-owner-occupied small multifamily? Because that rate sounds about right for a duplex that you're not going to live in, even if you had mortgage insurance. So there's a whole bunch to consider there. I'm a fan of 30-year fixed rate debt. I did 5% down on the first duplex. I believe I had mortgage insurance. It's gone now because I do conventional, not FHA. Isn't it too much leverage? You followed up. It could be, depending on your levered position, right? In the beginning, I think if you're going to house hack, putting 0 down or 5% down or 10% down to get on the property ladder is better than renting. In most cases, not all cases. The higher the cost of living, the more expensive the area, the more important house hacking becomes. But then if you look at your whole portfolio, so in growth mode, when you're actively adding to your portfolio and working towards financial freedom, which I believe where you are, I want it to be at about 70% loan to value. So if you look at all of your rentals and if you look at the total value, how much do you owe versus how much they're worth? If you're above 70%, 10% down might be a bit over levered. If you're below 70%, might be just fine because you want to get closer to 70%. In retirement, my goal is 50%. And gross value is over 7 million. I owe a little less than 1.5 million. So I'm way too under levered. I don't get enough levered appreciation. I don't get enough levered depreciation. I might get to the point where I have to pay taxes on rental income, and I don't want that crap. So the next purchase will probably be 100% levered with a VA loan just to get my levered position up. So what's your overall position at? Look at that as a part of the portfolio, not on its own. Did you change your hemline plan while away? No, it's the same basic low one. But if I have a leasing issue come up, that one property on the platform will pay the higher fee, but I'll just leave it where it is while I'm traveling. It's just there for peace of mind. Like I can step up anytime I need to. That's what I love about it. The wealth building journey. Remember, if you use Hemlane, you can put Dion Talk to get 20% off your first year. And I didn't put all of my properties on it. I didn't go to my existing tenants and say, hey, you need to learn this new platform. But as I add new tenants, I have tenant turnover or buy a property with new tenants in it, and I put them on the Hemlane platform, they start there. An example is I have a nice lady in her 70s who has a flip phone and no interwebs at her house. I'm not going to make her go get an internet connection and learn how to use a website. But the rest of the tenants are slowly matriculating to Hemlane. Chester, I'll send a text close to when the Brightwater program wraps up next Tuesday. Thank you. Appreciate it. Alex, we missed you at the meetup last night. We voted to change the name to Financial Freedom for the Lazy Working People. Nice. Love it. I should have just flown there for the meetup. That would have been totally worth it. Or you guys could have all flown here. We could have the monthly meetup here. You had both properties taxes double. So when you first buy them that first year or the first couple of years, when they catch that, hey, a seller said this was the price and a buyer said this was the price and an appraiser said this was the price, let's change the taxes. That's what people often forget to calculate in. But once you've owned them for a few years, they'll go up and down. They'll vertical pawing, a little more up than down usually. It's an 80-20 thing. Is it going to be a pirate wedding? It depends on who officiates, who picks the type of wedding. We'll see. I don't know. I think it'll be skyclad. Chester, you're gonna have to Google what skyclad means. That is insane to Jason. Yeah. Freedom Works, crack canvas for you. Does Wilmington, North Carolina have a battleship museum in its harbor? Bremerton, Port Orchard does. It's not a museum as much as it's a more current battleship for touring. Fork and Flow AI. An interesting name. I like it. And when you come to a fork in life, take it. Is it possible to house hack while being outside of the country for half the year? Oh, yeah. You just need 3 months in a state usually to establish residency. Check your state's rules. But I've got friends who lived in Washington where there is no R, but they had a place in where they lived. They were in Washington 3 months and 1 day out of the year because Washington at the time didn't have an income tax, which is being voted on this year because people are Californiizing Washington. So yeah, it just depends on how many months. As long as it's meets the criteria for that state's residency. There are some where it's more than 3 months and some where it's less. So I'd have to do some research on to tell you those exacts. But yeah, you can absolutely house hack at a distance. I had a bathtub reglazed today. Turned out really well. Nice, Julie. Awesome. I don't know that I've done that yet. I usually rip bathtubs out and put in walk-in showers, but I think I would do a reglaze if that was the only issue that there was. Jason, yes, it sucks. Went up over 3,000 each. My house only went up $15. The rentals are in an up and coming area, so values went up. Plus, it's Chicago. There you go. So 3,000 each. 3,000. So do the math where everybody has this panic of, oh, I don't know if I want to own rentals because Jason's taxes doubled. They went up 3,000. So they were around 3,000. Now they're around 6. Rough math. I'm sure that's not the exact numbers, but 3,000 divided by 12 is less than $300 a month, and you own 4 plexes. So that's less than $100 a month per unit, probably less than $70 a month per unit if you do the math on a whiteboard for this. Will your rents adjust $70 or so or more next year? Tenants pay taxes. It sucks. Yeah, your rents could go up $70 or more next year and you'd have more income. Now, Uncle Sam gets more income, or Chicago, so they can spend it on all those immigrants that shouldn't be there. Illegal. Engineered. That is a beautiful name too. You guys are awesome. Hey guys, when you were working 9 to 5, did you put money in company's 401k plan? That is a great question. Hopefully some people answered in the questions. Everybody's always welcome to. This is a communal conversation. So in the beginning, before I really got into real estate, I fell into the 401k trap and was maxing out the 401k payments for tax benefits. And then I learned about real estate and I dropped my 401k contributions from the max down to the match. People mistakenly say, make sure you get the match. It's free money. That's bull dookie. It's your money. Right? I ran a company. We developed a 401k program for staff because it's a recruiting and retention program. What you do is you say, we can pay this much. We'll only pay this much and we'll take what we took out of the pay and we'll make that a match. So if they join the 401k, they get this compensation that was theirs to begin with. That's what almost every company's 401k is they take your compensation package, part of your payment gets reduced so they have money to put into your 401k. So you should get the match because it is your money. If you have a choice to go to work for a company like Old Dominion or Oak Harbor Freight Lines, choose the one that didn't have a match because you just get paid more. So yes, I contributed to the 401k. And then here's the extra answer to your question that you might not have asked for. For the first 7 years, right, at first 3 or 4, I was probably maxing out retirement. Then I got a couple of rentals and I thought, hey, I can make some money doing this. I love when the boys text me and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm in the middle of my live stream. The boys is the 3 amigos, the Millennial Mike, the Lumberjack, and Zuber. But the Emperor ran off with the squirrel's groove again. I contributed for the first few years the max, then I dropped to the match. And then at about year 7, once I had my investing legs under me and I had confidence in my ability to get a return on investing, I emptied out my retirement accounts, paid the taxes, I probably would have paid the penalty too at that point because I found the deal, but it was 2020 and the pandemic said you could take out money and not pay the penalty. And I bought a triplex, and that triplex has made me gazillions more than my 401k ever would have. Much better tax benefits, more cash flow, more appreciation, more principal pay down. If you want, you can move that over there. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, so that's how I did the 401k thing. I always say, I don't always, I usually say, don't do anything with your retirement accounts when you're starting out. Don't use the equity in your house with a HELOC or a cash out or sell for a 1031, because in the beginning, in those first few years, that tends to be when you make your biggest mistakes. Why put at risk something that you have all that time into? I want to risk the money that I'm making and saving for investing to learn those things that you have to in those first few years. Once you have that down, then maybe get creative. And my phone is getting all the spam calls. I love it when you go to another country. The spam calls in your country try to time it with, midday, which is midnight when you're traveling. Jeremy, stay away from Pre Vihar Temple in northern Thailand. Too many landmines to my taste. That has not been my experience. Although somebody in Cambodia, was it, that just found not in a good way landmine? Yeah. I have had the enemy marksmanship experience with and I'm so old, Jeremy. I mean, I'm a bit older than you. We called them landmines too. Nowadays, they call them IEDs because they wanted you to make it sound like your opponent was less advanced. As the modern day, what do you call it? Mind F they're doing. Matthew, howdy. Expanding my handyman side gig, found a contractor subbing out jobs for an Airbnb flip. Nice. Good. Skills you will definitely use as an investor. Freedom works. Dion is correct. The tax code is a set of incentives to get things built and people employed. Right. The more housing that's created, the more innovation that happens, the more jobs that's created, the less that person pays in taxes. And the more the people who are taxed on their wage complain. Ivan Zaniga says, congratulations. Thank you. Self-education. What did the process of outsourcing rental tasks, screening, handyman, lawn care, whatever else look like in more detail? So in the beginning, I was retarded and tried to do everything myself. That is a professional term that I associated with myself. I didn't have a lease. I didn't even try to use handyman. I didn't know how much I didn't know about fixing stuff or what you shouldn't try to fix yourself. So it was a slow process. In the beginning, to find handyman, I didn't have the Thumbtack app for the first few years. Now I use the Thumbtack app. And so what the current version looks like is I go on Thumbtack, hire a handyman or a contractor for a small job, something that if they mess up completely, I could go fix myself, or another handyman I have could go fix. How do they interact with the tenant? What's their communication style like? How did their pricing compare? What did their work look like before and after pictures, and tenant satisfaction? Then if it's good, if it's bad, okay, learning lesson, never use them again. If it was a good experience, I have a conversation. What do you like to do? Right? So if Matthew is learning his handyman stuff and he's just getting into it, I'd have a conversation with somebody like him. I go, hey, do you like to do LVP flooring? How are you with simple plumbing tasks? What about electric outlet stuff? Maybe not in the panel, but in the wall. What else do you like to do? What do you hate to do? Like I've got this one contractor that's really good at most everything, won't touch carpet. So I've actually had him on a job site where somebody was carpeting the stairs and they worked together because he didn't want to do it. So I'd build a list, and in my phone, I have a contact for every one of my properties, but I also have a contact for one of my handyman. And in the notes section, it'll say, prefers to do this, did this job on this day at this property. Any other notes, got married, had a kid, whatever. So it sounds like I know things when I'm talking to people. But build that list of handymen to outsource it to. And then you can make some decisions on what's more important to you, your time, your relationship with the tenant. Like I've got a nephew that rents from me, and sometimes when there's something to fix it, he says, I'll just go over there. We'll have a barbecue. I'll fix whatever we're doing there. The last thing was thermostats for the cadet heaters were all outdated. So I swapped out 3 thermostats while we were there and had a barbecue. Would I normally hire a handyman to go do that? Sure. But Can I go do it and actually learn that there are two different types of thermostats that I didn't even know? Sounds like the school is about to start. They're singing in the background. There's a school across the river. Yeah, we got. Where were we? So outsourcing. My brother David did almost everything. He did all of his full burrs and rehabs himself. He's never refinanced out to finish a burr, but he does the buy, rehab, rent out, pay off the HELOC, rinse, repeat. So he's pretty close to burr age. But he did his roofs until the last two. He finally hired the guy that I've had do my roofs. I've not done roofs. I'll hire some. I've helped him do his roofs. I'm stupid, but I want to hire a pro for that. Outsourcing taxes day one, own a rental, hire a pro. I'd get a CPA day one. Um, Cost will go up as your portfolio grows, so it's not as much when you only have one or two. So I would justify it by saying, yeah, there are multiple types of depreciation. I don't even want to know what they are. I want a pro to know what they are. The tenant screening in the beginning, I used cozy.co, which was purchased by apartments.com. And then in the last 3 or 4 years, I've switched to Hemlane. So I'm moving to that now. So that was a process there. First tenant, I rented out to a friend with no lease, with no tenant screening, right? So that was the progress of educating myself on how stupid that was. But outsourcing tasks, I don't want a property manager, even while traveling. The reason I use Hemlane is because I can travel, and if something happens, I can step up that property to the higher tiered program from Hemlane for that month to handle that issue. Property managers make more than the owners do in most cases and have divergent goals. Like a handyman wants the thing to work and be fixed and to have good quality work so I'll use them again and so that I'll recommend them. A property manager makes money on tenant turnover. I don't. I lose money on tenant turnover. I might make more rent down the road. So I've not had a property manager. So I've not outsourced that. Not sure that I ever will. I will probably seller finance off properties before I get to the point where I can't handle the few texts and emails it takes to manage a property. Then I would actually hire a PM to do that. So thank you. That was a good question. Hopefully that helps. Bradley, thanks for answering your question. Thanks for asking the question. I appreciate it. Pinhead, pop in your own microwave. Nailed it. Thank you. Yes, thank you. That was a good one. I might have to start using that one more often. And then my chat moved, which I appreciate. That means more questions. Snow, snow. That word sounds familiar, but I just can't place it to Rob. Yeah, not in San Diego. You're not going to place it there. Was in the Marines, went to boot camp San Diego and then stationed at 29 Palms. And we had people in my company, my platoon, who had never seen snow and then didn't know that it snowed in the desert. So at 29 Palms, we had snow. People need to travel more. Cabragoon, Cabulous. Do you pay insurance premiums and taxes annually or monthly on rentals? I have. 2, have you ever paid towards points to bring mortgage payment premium down? Good questions. First one. Taxes are paid through, for most of my 6 of my properties through the mortgage, they are escrowed. The 2 that I have are paid biannually, so April and October, and they're just auto ACH'd. So I don't even think about it. They're just paid. Insurance, I pay all of it. 7 of them are paid annually, one lump fee. 1 of them is paid monthly. Not sure why, just how I set it up when I got it. But they're all paid with credit cards. This is the reason insurance is not escrowed. It's because I get cash back by paying my homeowner's insurance with credit card, and there is no extra fee. There's no handling fee. There's no credit card percent. It's just a way to get cash back. You can get points if you're one of those people like Chesla who does travel points. It's better than that. But the taxes, since they do ACH and not credit card, I have it biannually or escrowed with the mortgages. Brian builds wealth. Howdy. Had my first experience with a tenant reporting bed bugs. They've been there for 5 years, so I'm puzzled. Treating tomorrow, but it's a quad, so I'm a bit nervous for neighbors. In conversations with that tenant, has any of them traveled recently? It's not that you're going to be able to place the blame on them. What the heck was that? Am I having a stroke? You heard it too, though. Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. I think that means breakfast is ready. Um, treat all 4 units, treat the exterior. It's not going to cost much different. They're already there. The travel time to set up and the takeaway, they won't charge you more per unit as much. Um, and just make it standard treatment. You don't have to say why, but yeah, that could be a problem. That is one of the reasons, one of the things I bring up often when I was first starting. People say, why did you buy duplexes instead of like go find a 10 unit? First answer is I like fixed rate debt. Now, there are options to get a 10 unit with fixed rate debt, but I didn't know that at the time. And I wanted duplexes at first spread out instead of the first fourplex, because if you have a 10 unit and you have a bed bug infestation or a foundation issue or a roof issue or something where all of a sudden nobody can live there, that your whole portfolio gets hit. Where I had a duplex over here and a duplex over there. I had 3 duplexes and a single family house that I owned before I was an investor, before I got my fourplex. Kind of slowed down the growth so that when something like that happens, it doesn't hit as big a thing in your portfolio. So if you own a 4 unit, how many other units do you have? Are you spread out? And yeah, you're just going to have to treat it when that kind of happens. Not had the bed bugs thing yet, but I have had tenant move out of a duplex, new tenants go to move in, and there's fleas everywhere. And I'm like, why would there be fleas there? This is LVP flooring, but there were. And so you go there and you could literally see them bouncing around. Treat both sides, doesn't matter. Wayne Wong says, choose your pain. Totally agree. Star Wars Mary. If I use AI for my listing photos, how do I remove the M dash? So it's not, so there's a few things you need to remove. It's the M dash, it's the ellipsis. You have to go through and change it. There's a few things that'll identify it as, but you literally just go into the typing, like copy and paste it into the notes, get rid of the M dash, copy and paste it to put it there. When you do AI, it's more than that. AI gives you the idea. So copy it and put it in notes or in a Word doc and go through and kind of rewrite it in your own language. Get rid of the M dash, get rid of the bullet points, get rid of some things that make it not look human. Every stupid little what do you call them? It's not an emoji, but it'll be like an image of a house or an image of a dollar sign or a dollar with wings or something. Get rid of all those dumb things. Make it look like you typed it. But yeah, so AI is a starting point, kind of like the book Financial Freedom for the Lazy Person. I had AI go through on a couple of things. I would copy and paste it and go, okay, tell me what's bad with my grammar here. And a lot of the things it would correct, I didn't want it to. Like it would say, oh no, nobody writes this one. Like, no, but a Marine talks this way and a truck driver talks this way. So even though AI would say do these things, I would go back and I go, nope, go through every line by line, go do it how I would want. And yeah, put a comma here. The M dash is always trying to tell you that there needs to be a spacing. So sometimes you need to read. So anytime AI puts an M dash in something you make, look at that sentence structure and think, instead of this run-on sentence, how can I have 2 sentences that make the point? To get rid of the M dash, make 2 new sentences. So it's a starting point. AI is not there yet at writing for you or making a listing for you. But here's the benefits of AI. So when I realized I was listing my properties incorrectly, I was going as an owner, age of building, square footage, parking, how far to the freeway, like cut and dry, this many bedrooms, well, I'd get some demand. And then I met Matt, the lumberjack landlord, who has a course. It's a really good course. Oh shit, now you're a landlord, right? And from the information from him, I learned tenants look at things differently. I'm an owner. What do I care about? What does a tenant care about? Tenants care about quality of life. What are my kids going to do when we live there? How far is it to my work? How many parks or colleges or hospitals or all of these things that I wouldn't even know to look up. So for about 2 years, knowing Matt, I learned the skill from Matt that I would go, let me Google the address, Google parks near address, historical events near address, like 3 or 4 hours worth of work to come up with a list of 5 to 10 things that tenants might really like. What AI does now is it doesn't list, here's what you write. I just type in, I have a rental at this address. What are 5 to 10 things within 2 miles that tenants might be attracted to? Gives me the list. Now I take that list and I write. It's 0.6 miles or this many feet from this park where there's these dog trails and this. I'll describe it myself. So AI is not doing the work for you, but AI is reducing the workload for you, if that makes sense. Star Wars Mary, hopefully that helps. C. Yes. Howdy. This is Jordan from Houston. Howdy. Hope you are enjoying your time in Thailand. I am. I'm trying to think. Tesla's had 2 bad days, 2 rough days, 2 culture shocks. Tuk-tuks are loud. And when you're in a tuk-tuk on a freeway, there's a lot going on. What else was the other negative that you had? Have you had a bad food experience? Food's been so what's the idea is get alcohol from an alcohol store. Try not to buy alcohol at hotels or bars, resorts, because
it's fake alcohol.
it's something in the alcohol you don't like.
It's poison.
It's poisoning you. That's not the experience I've had, because these drinks have been amazing for me. But church, does Rufinol give you a headache?
Yes.
Yeah, I need to do that differently. Capricorn Cabulous. Brian, just do it or inquire with all tenants. They'll appreciate, there you go, your concern, and don't divulge which tenant to none of them. There you go. We're enjoying our time in Thailand. Good morning. Looking forward to our we are looking forward to our time at the beach, which is coming. We get on a train tomorrow to Bangkok, and then we spend a day there, and then we get on a train close to Phuket, and then we'll be on the beach, because we haven't had much beach time in Chiang Mai because we are chasing the good weather while we're here. Chesla's really looking forward to the beach time. You did not like the playful tigers. You have to admit, that was not, I don't know. You like the tigers that just laid there, even though it took 5 minutes to get them to just lay there. The elephants, that was fun.
Yeah.
Okay. If you come to Thailand, you go to the elephants, you go to an elephant preserve. You don't go to the ones where they ride them. Those ones are ridden and trained. You want to go to the preserve, where you're basically like a pet that feeds them, goes on a hike with them, and swims in the water with them, and covers them in mud when you're done, because that's their sunscreen, and you just play with them. So Dion, what was a WoW account one of your criteria for marriage selection? No, it was a requirement that she's a gamer, though. She games as much as I do, different games, but didn't have to be WoW. Had to be game. And sexiest thing a woman can do. Our top 17 sexiest thing that a woman can do. It's in that list. Be an avid reader. And she's an Audible reader. Probably won't listen to my book on Audible, but we'll see. Delroy, thanks for that. I actually can't swim, so I'll use this time to learn how to swim in between deals. So when I do retire, I can actually scuba dive Colombia or Jamaica. There you go. We actually had that conversation yesterday about how many adults that we've personally met who don't know how to swim. And I'm just trying to think of everyone I know as a kid was just thrown off the boat. You got swimming lessons. I threw all my kids off the boat. My brother threw my son in, and my son wanted to murder him. So screaming, I hope you die. It was great. But yeah, so could be a musical instrument. It could be swimming. It could be Krav Maga. It could be anything that you have a passion for that doesn't work, that you don't need to monetize, that could be the thing that you do when you don't have to worry about money anymore. And when you learn how to scuba, just so you know, you learn in a swimming pool. They don't just usually, I mean, sure, in some areas, they just take you and put you in the water and they've got a nice safe area. But most times, the first few lessons are in the pool. You got to get demasked and learn how to put your mask on underwater. And that's easier in a pool. Because it never fails. First time you go scuba, you're both sitting in the water like this. And you're talking before you go underwater. And you think, okay, we're going to go down. And what was the thing? We go down, we're going to go to the prison, and we want to look at like the third cell, because that's the one you can still go in. There's an underwater prison. And you go, okay, so you put your mask on, put your respirator in, and then you go underwater and you turn. The very first thing that happens every time you scuba dive, not that it's someone doing it on purpose, their fins knock your mask off, and you have to be able to just grab your mask and put it on. And sometimes you're the one that knocks their mask off too. Just depends on which way you're going. But you want to learn that in a pool. Angel Ray, thank you. This is the scuba beard. The Chesla preferred beard. Everett, have you ever tried Baselane? And I have not. I have not compared anything other than self-managed tools on like Cozy, Apartments, or Zillow to Hemlane, because I was looking for something I could step up and have the cheaper version almost all the time, and step up when I needed it. And I didn't see that on Baselane. Bo Rivers. Have you ever seen the movie Bo Jest? Next milestone is living off wife's income plus rentals safely to invest more aggressively. Would you consider going down to 50% leverage to make this happen while still in growth mode, 7 to 8% rate? So if you were going to If you're going to walk away from the safety of that drug that kills your dreams, that paycheck, you're going to walk away from it. I might have a less levered position. I don't know if I'd go all the way down to 50%, but I wouldn't want to be as close to 70. How much does the spouse make? How comfortable are they working while you're investing? And are you going to be able to put enough time into the investing to where it justifies that they're working and you're not? Right? Because it sounds great on paper, but the first time they're getting up to an alarm clock and going to work and you're sleeping until noon if you feel like it, that might not be a great conversation. I retired a year before Tesla. I think I enjoyed that more than you did. Yeah. Okay. Uh, yeah. I probably would go down a little bit further. Yeah. Freedom works. An awful lot of the fruits and nuts in California moved north to Oregon and Washington. To Oregon and Washington. Yeah, they did. We all wanted to be the last ones, but man, they're just as blue now. Why do you rip out bathtubs? That is a great question, Eldon Peters. I haven't seen your name before. Welcome to the channel. Hopefully I got to your question in time. Sorry, it takes me time to get to them because I'm trying to be thorough in every answer. And I have some Marine Corps related brain injuries where my memory doesn't keep up all the time. So I'm trying to get there. So I do some legal forms of discrimination. I'm going to name the mosquitoes this morning. Yeah, please. There are 2 times a day in Thailand when the mosquitoes are everywhere. And when they fly by, you can hear them go, "Excuse me." And you're like, yeah, okay, I will. Legal forms of discrimination. I don't discriminate. I will rent to people with families, but in over a decade of owning rentals now, I've had about $200 of damage caused by pets in total. One trim around a door, right? I've had tens of thousands of dollars of damage from kids. So I try not to rent to kids, but I don't discriminate. If one applies and they're qualified, I've got tenants with kids now. But legal discrimination. First, and this is in my book, Financial Freedom for the Lazy Person, which is now available on Kindle and Amazon. I do not want to own in a good school district. Couple of reasons. One, kids do more damage, but two, why is it a good school district? The taxes are higher. And you age your tenants out. As soon as that kid graduates or moves from the middle school to the high school and they don't like that high school, they're going to move. You have tenant turnover caused by being in a good school district. So I don't want war zone properties, but I want class C, working class, not in good school district properties. So that's a legal form of discrimination. I'm less likely to get families if I'm not in a good school district. But the second thing is, anytime I don't buy a rental and rip out the bathtubs. But if I own a rental and the bathtub seal's working, or they didn't put what's the stuff that goes under the
Leveling.
they didn't level it out right and it creaks and pops or the pipes are leaking or something. Instead of doing work to the bathtub, I'll rip it out, put it in a walk-in shower because people with kids prefer bathtubs. Walk-in showers less likely to get kids. So it's a legal form of discrimination. I still advertise, I'll still accept families if they apply, but I'm less likely to. Kind of like if you're new to the channel, I'll explain my diversification strategy. I've got two. One is I want my properties at least 10 miles apart. So like the bed bug thing, if I did have a really bad infestation at one property, it infects 2 units instead of 7 or 10. The second form of diversification is I want 1/3 military, 1/3 Section 8, and 1/3 working or retired tenant types. But it would be illegal to say Section 8 only in the advertisement or no Section 8 allowed in some states. It's right. Or military only, right? So I don't discriminate. I don't do it illegally, but I do control how I advertise. If I list on base, probably going to get a military tenant. Could get a contractor. If I called a Section 8 housing authority and I say, I have a listing coming available on Tuesday, please share this with your customers or your clients. I'm probably going to get one of them to apply. There you go. Thanks. Great question. Welcome to the channel. I do this live every Tuesday at 4 o'clock. Every Thursday and Saturday, I tend to release a video that's about 10 to 15 minutes long. For those people who would never click on a 2-hour video. Freedom work. Question for me. Is there still a Vladimir Lenin statue in Seattle? I don't go to Seattle except for the waterfront. It wouldn't surprise me if there is. Wouldn't surprise me at all. It is when it comes to investing, I want to own properties exactly like I do in a red county in a blue state. I would not own in King County because that's a blue county in a blue state. That's a nightmare. Michelle, I want to own in red counties in the blue state. So I get the benefits of the blue state, massive appreciation, rent control, making me stupid rich, uh, harder to build. So the appreciation happens, more demand for my rentals. But in the red counties, I get quicker evictions. I get landlord friendly law enforcement. Yeah. Flavio, howdy in Grandview, Washington. Laura, howdy. My new tenant parked his damaged car in the driveway without a tag. The tenant in the other unit said he mentioned that his car was hit by a deer and he is planning to sell it. How do I handle that? First, is it in the lease? We have it in our leases. We've had to add to a couple that we were renewing over and over. All vehicles must be currently registered. I don't think it says they have to run. It just says they have to be currently registered. And if it's not, then you can issue a letter saying you're in lease violation. This can result in an eviction if you don't remedy this, and then might just go get it registered. Is it impacting the other tenant? And how much time? Maybe ask them, if it's not in your lease, consider adding it in the future. If it is in your lease, you can ask, what's the time frame on when you think this is going to be resolved? I've got a tenant who's always working on his car in the driveway. Always something, I don't know what, something different section of the car every couple of weeks, but it doesn't impact the other tenants, and it's not loud and it's not in the middle of the night. So I don't really care unless it impacts the other tenants. And where the reason it's in my lease isn't so much that I care that there's a car there on my property that's rotting away. What I care is that they've got the car they use, and then they've got the 13 cars they use for parts that aren't registered, that aren't insured, that are taking up space that no one else can park there, that I can't use, and all of the, rodents that it can attract and things like that. So one or two, I really wouldn't care too much. Lynn does investing. How much did you get hit in taxes for cashing out your 401k? Quite a bit, because I had made a lot that year. It was 2020. It was probably one of the first years I broke. I know I was in six figures. I don't know if I hit 200,000, but it was my last 2 years working that they started paying me really well, because they're like, wow, this guy's making $250,000 a year on his rentals. Maybe we should pay him and keep him around. And it didn't work. They were great. They treated me really well. I'm really happy with them, but it was not worth staying. But because I was in the high tax bracket, I probably paid whatever it is. I know it was 24 or more percent, and I took out 86,000. So I didn't have like a bazillion dollars in there. Because remember, most of my life I never made more than $60,000 a year. So I didn't have a lot of money, but I just paid it. And I took that money and a little bit more money, and I bought a triplex. And the mortgage payment is $2,200 a month. One unit is rented for $2,500 a month. One rented for $2,200 a month. One's rented for $1,900 a month at the friends and family discount. That makes me so much cash flow. It's appreciated since 2020, 300,000, maybe, probably a little more. I've had principal pay down versus the 86,000 in my retirement account would probably be 150. Maybe it's gone up 40% in the last 5 years. That'd be nice, but it sure doesn't beat cash flow every year, appreciation pay down, a new depreciation schedule to depreciate against my income. Now, what sucked is that year, I'm not a real estate professional. I don't have a spouse who's a real estate professional. I was making high W-2 income. Emptying out your retirement account is like W-2 income. So I got no depreciation against that, no write-offs against that. I just paid the taxes. I'd rather put my money to work. But I was 7 years into investing, and I had my investing legs under me. I knew what I was going to do. I knew the deal I was going to get. Charles McCune answered, kids and moms like bathtubs. Pets do less damage. There you go. Freedom question for me. Grapefruit, cosmopolitan, or a chocolate martini? I've not done either one of those. And I think I smelt a Cosmo, didn't like it. Because here's the phrasing that comes out when I buy a drink at a bar. It's either a Bloody Mary or, word for word, the gayest, sweetest drink you can think of. Umbrella, fruit, doesn't matter. So pina colada, strawberry martini, Strawberry daiquiri, the martini. I mess that up all the time, and I'll get the strawberry martini, and I'm like, what is this? And I'm order, just throw it away. So grapefruit, Cosmo. I wouldn't do grapefruit anything. Chocolate martini, probably not, because I fell into that trap one time with a tiramisu. Everybody's like, "Oh, you got to try this tiramisu." I'm like, "Why would you make cake that tastes like alcohol?" I hate the taste of alcohol. Alcohol tastes terrible. It's the effects you go for. Cheers. Have a drink when you cheers, even though it's twice. We're gonna have a chaser. Hit that like button. Charge it 10%. Oh, hang on. Jason, hit the like button. If you hit the like button, an angel gets its wings. Always remember that. Freedom Works Delora, charge a 10% fee for selling the damaged car to Copart Auto Recycling Company. There you go. Cracked canvas. What is your minimum non-negotiable cash reserve dollar amount per unit? All right, cash reserves broken down. When I had 7 units or less, and this will sound like a scripted thing because I wrote a section in the book on reserves. When I had 7 units or less, I had $10,000 in reserves. I didn't want to go below that ever. If I ever did, every penny funneled back into there until it was back up there. Above 7 units, up to 16, I kept about 30,000 in reserves. Everything above 10,000 or 30,000, I wanted working to make me more money. Now, this was 2013 to 2018. Inflation might make that 15 and 40 now, right? I want more money in reserves because more things can go wrong as your portfolio grows. But here's the reason I'm wording this is because your minimum non-negotiable cash reserves in 2020, I bought my fourplex and I got down to $200 to my name in my bank account. My reserves were gone. My deposit, all my money was gone. It was just gone. I had credit cards I didn't use. I had one paid off property, so like a piggy bank I could borrow against. At the beginning of 2020, I had my retirement account, right? So the bank used my retirement account as a reserve. 50% of that will qualify. And then it was in November of 2020 that I emptied it out and bought the triplex. So I bought the fourplex and the triplex in the same year. I got down to $200. Never, ever, ever, ever do that unless you have the retirement account. I had the cash flow from units. I had a decent job. I was buying a fourplex. We were closing on January 6, 2020. So not J6, 2021, but J6, 2020. Which meant I had 4 units that escrow was going to cut me a check for at closing for their rents. So on like January 6th, as I go to closing and write the check and everything's done, I have $200 to my name. By the end of February, I had over 10 grand to my name again because of rent rolls, job, the rent from the new property. So that's the one time in my entire 10 plus years of investing that I've ever gone below my reserves, but it matched my strategy. I had my confidence. I was far into investing. I had the cash flow. I had the retirement account. I wouldn't do that in the beginning. And now I keep 50,000 in reserves. I don't want more in reserves than that. I'm actually uncomfortable with the amount of money that I have in the bank right now because I'm going to buy the next property. Probably going to buy 2. One's going to be VA, owner occupied, 0 down, fourplex. The other one's going to be investment purchase, rental, house with ADU or duplex. That's my 2026 plans, not because it's in growth mode, but because the money's got to go somewhere. I'm probably going to sell my first property too. That's my reserves. Mike Storm. Hello from Connecticut. That sounds like a real place. I have an old home, 1800s, paid off. I'd like to sell it and put 100 down on a 2 to 3 family, move in and house hack. I'd have enough left to do 2 more, but don't want to wait 3 years. So I'm usually a fan of saving and buying the next place, not selling and buying the next place. The reason I might sell is because I've lived in this place more than 2 years. So if you've lived there, you have the IRS 121 rule to avoid up to 250,000 if your taxes if you're single, 500,000 if you're married. Take that money and redeploy it. So a couple of things come in is what is the cost of selling, right? Agent fees. If you didn't live in it, capital gains, depreciation, recapture. Are you going to do a 1031? If you did live in it, what are you going to have to fix? Then you go to sell it. When you go to buy, how confident are you in your ability to find a deal that makes sense at current interest rates, at current home prices, in your market, in the market you want, right? Have you hunted for deals and thought, okay, there's enough to where I could make offers where I would get the ones I want. So before you sell and become a renter and then realize you can't buy everything, could you buy the deal? Because a lot of people start with, how do I access the money? Is it sell? Is it HELOC? Is it a cash out refinance? That's not the first question. The first question is, would the money go to work? Am I confident? Like, you can't say, do I know? Are you confident the money would go to work somewhere else? Start with that. I'd have enough left to do 2 more, but don't want to wait 3 years. It's that wait, those first 2 years. I just had a conversation with somebody recently, and the actual solution to the answer was, yeah, you're in the first few years. It's going to go slow. It needs to go slow. Coach Carson explained it really well at the Las Vegas meetup for BiggerPockets. He said to someone else, just like third party conversation, he was explaining that if you move really fast, you will make mistakes before you realize it. And the faster you move, the more times you can make that mistake before you realize you were making it. So slow is smooth and smooth is fast. It sucks, but it's for me preferable. Cracked canvas, the USS North Carolina is the most decorated American battleship of World War II. Nice. Thank you. And the military is better than the best. Love going to military museums. Nice. It's interesting going to military related stuff. They just had a Memorial Day service here in Thailand, which was pretty interesting because they do bag giveaways to veterans. I don't know what was in the bags. It looked like a goodie bag, I don't know if it was clothes and food and stuff or whatever, but showing appreciation to their troops. It was actually cool to watch. If you have bed bugs, you need to evict them immediately. They don't pay rent. There you go. Send the tenant a thing saying pets cost extra. Fork and Flow AI. I have a rental at a distance and it's netting negative cash flow before setting aside slightly positive. Should I change it to midterm rental or pad split? I think I would look at all of those ways of increasing income first. How does your rent compare to area average? Have you used the binder strategy? Have you increased the deductible on your insurance to lower the premium? Is there any value add you can do? Like maybe tenant turnover might be needed to get it to be profitable. And then you maybe add a closet to a family room or a den or fence the yard or do something to increase the income, add a storage shed. But minimum, midterm rentals, short-term rentals, if your time and energy can handle it and you don't mind the extra work, and sometimes it might even be easier depending on how good your systems get. Yeah, be creative with it. Where the caution comes in, so you own that and you can try the strategy, great. Where I'm always cautious is if somebody says, I want to buy a place that would be negative cash flow, but I'm going to buy it so I can short-term, midterm, or pad split, rent by room. That's dangerous. Because what if the legislation changes or that strategy doesn't work there? Then you're stuck with a long-term tenant at a loss. We have to sell at a loss because you haven't owned it long enough for appreciation to cover the cost of selling. Yeah. But yeah, no, since you already own it and you can try it. Yep. And then, so let's say you try it and you do it for a few years. Now rental appreciation might go to where in a few years, long-term tenants might make sense and actually be good income. Freedom works. Most of my alcohol intake happens at hotels and restaurants. Mine too. Yeah. It's really hard though when you can go and buy a bottle of vodka for the cost of a Del Taco taco. So it's a little easier to drink in the room then. Talk to REI Jared before doing PodSpit. He'll tell you about his experience. There you go. Tim Crawford, you're up early. I haven't gone to bed yet. It's time to go to bed soon. The beard is the Tom Selleck lookalike beard. I'll take it. Is that 90-year-old Tom Selleck or 30-year-old Tom Selleck Magnum PI? Depends on which one you're talking. Cracked canvas. What single mistake most causes new investors to quit during the 5 years of suck? That's a great question because there's a lot of things that make investors quit in the first 5 years. The single mistake in the first 5 years is thinking the cash flow will grow on an XY axis like a line. And I have pictures I could show, but it takes me too long to get them up, and that would kill my video. But you've probably seen that video, Cracked Canvas, where I talked about at 3 years of a 10-year journey, you should feel like you're 1/3 of the way in, but your cash flow looks like you're 5% in, right? You're 1/20th of your way in, not 1/3, because the hockey stick happens towards the end. So a lot of people start, they get that first rental, they get 2 or 3 years in, they're probably just breaking even. They might even be losing money because they don't have their systems yet. Everybody says, I want to buy a property that makes money. Sure, it makes money if you know what you're doing and you screen your tenants well and you treated your tenants well and you have your list of handymen and you know how to negotiate prices and everything's going well. But in those first few years, you don't know how to do any of that. I lost $6,000 my first year. I tried to quit. I was like, I don't know how to do this, because the cash flow didn't track with the amount of time that was going in. If it was $6,000 in the first year, imagine if you did that a few years. How long would you stay in that? Since I was upside down in the house and I owed more than it was worth, I couldn't even give the house away. I was forced to do the smart thing that I should have done before having a tenant, was educate myself, go to BiggerPockets, go to one rental at a time, read Rich Dad Poor Dad, set for life, cash flow quadrant, like actually get some knowledge to do this because it's a business. The patience to wait to know that cash flow is going to come much later. That's the thing most people mess up. I'm going to burn through the rest of these questions really quick. And on that, I had a pro tip: when putting your mask back on underwater, push air out of your nose to water will be pushed up to your nose, and you may have to cough through the regulator. Yes. But the pro tip is to pick a part of your face that has the cleanest seal, tilt that towards the top so that when you blow the air, the water is forced out the side that doesn't have the air, and the air will go into the side that has a seal, but it has to be the top of the mask. Other words, you're just blowing air into water and the air will go out. But yeah, pro tip. We learned that in the pool first too. We'll still be working for sure. Went to Thailand once, try some hot soup that is also very spicy when it's 95 degrees outside. A wonderful experience. Yes, in Thailand, there was very few no spice options. There's either super, super spicy, which is great and makes you sweat, or what they call no spice, which most Americans wouldn't eat because it's too spicy. Oliver's and Chill. Oliver's and Chill. Hey, Dion, during your home inspection period, what do you typically do? Do you bring any licensed contractor out for additional checks? Anything extra you usually handle all the way to closing? So usually just the home inspector. The one burr that I did have contractors come out and take a look before I closed, but usually, no contractors or anything, because I like to buy rent ready or already occupied properties. And Flavio, do you add glass on the walk-in showers? Tile walk-in. I've got one acrylic and then glass front. Yeah, add glass front. Michelle, my fixture is going to be my home for a while, and when I move out, I'm thinking midterm rental, short-term rental. It closes to SeaTac in downtown. Good call. You'll have to go watch Beau Geste. Now it's my sister's favorite movie. Navy boot camp, 1/3 of them didn't know how to swim to start. We need to catch up when you come back stateside. Currently getting bought out of business and hitting retirement part 2. Nice. Yeah, we'll have to connect. Yeah, in the Marines, I think it was about 10% didn't know how to swim. And the ones like me that thought we knew how to swim realize that there's always the next level of swimming that you just don't know. Freedom Works. Focus on just a couple of real estate investment ideas. There you go. You already do love the taste of whiskey and bourbon and scotch. Nice. Reminds me of Matt and Ashley with 17 doors and one paying tenant in 2008. I've been there, leveraged every pen, making 1.6 million in gross first year and having no cash, probably a yellow light bulb. Nice. Get married before you sell it. Prices are going to jump again this spring. Nice. I will probably end up doing a 1031 because it's only 50% occupied. So I still have the capital gains and depreciation recapture on the other half. Oliver and Chill. Hey, Dion, you mentioned not using LLCs and just an umbrella. My uncle says to put each rental in an own LLC for lawsuit protection. What are your thoughts on that? I'm going to give you a few seconds to answer this question. How many rentals does your uncle own? I'll let the video catch up because there's a delay, but I want to know how many rentals your uncle owns. Because that is the question every time this conversation comes up. Attorneys with no rentals, CPAs with no rentals, friends and family with no rentals. There is zero asset protection from having your rentals in an LLC unless you have partners. And then it protects you from their mistakes, not your own. When you're sued, all of your assets are at risk and all of your LLCs are your asset. A lot of courts will try to pierce the veil. That was the big thing. Now, a lot of courts are using the 1996 IRS precedents that all sole proprietor LLCs, which is you and your spouse, are disregarded entities, meaning they don't exist. So I'm still waiting to see if your uncle owns any rentals. Yes, it is just insurance and an umbrella. Be proactive, have the banks in first position. You can put them in an LLC. I'm not saying it's a bad idea to put them in. You're adding expense that gives you no benefit. The reason I'm so against LLCs is, let's say, Oliver's and Chill right here. You mentioned not using LLCs. What are your thoughts on that? Because your uncle says to put each in an LLC. So if you don't own any rentals and you're just starting and you're going to create an LLC to buy a rental, well, you create the LLC has no work history, it has no credit score, it has no debt to income ratio, so it can't buy it. So you're going to commit mortgage fraud and do what everybody says. Just buy it yourself and then move it into the LLC and hope it doesn't trigger the due on sale clause. So you commit mortgage fraud, great way to start your investing. You get higher interest rates, higher insurance costs, more likely to be sued. You can't represent yourself in court if you have to go through an eviction. In California, having an LLC triggers rent control, not having an LLC, not rent controlled. Like you have this list of negatives. Now you have to name it, you have to pay for the license, you have to file taxes on each LLC that you own. How do you pay yourself from your LLC without commingling your finances? Like you have this mountain of knowledge to learn how to buy a rental, own a rental, screen tenants, vet tenants, deal with tenants, hire contractors, deal with taxes, your city, utilities. You have to learn all that, and you want to add dealing with the LLC. So if a new person goes, yeah, this is too much, I can't do it, and they just never buy a rental, that's who's getting screwed over. Now, if you're Dave Meyer, the host of BiggerPockets, he puts every property in an LLC, and he has dozens, and he's doing great, and he's financially free. Who cares how many LLCs he has? It doesn't matter. But to that new person out there that could get stopped in their tracks, makes refinancing harder, can't house hack, can't owner occupy lending, like all kinds of things. So if he owned 7 and sold them all, that means he failed at real estate. I'm not saying be disrespectful to your uncle, but it's not somebody I would take advice from. And other than, what did you do? Oh, you had LLCs, so you had extra cost for each one. You had more headache because you had to manage an LLC for each rental property. You created a job out of owning rentals, where his is managing, if he had seven LLCs, 7 structures, 7 entities, 7 rentals with however many tenants that is. That's a full-time job. And 7 rentals at a full-time job is not going to create a full-time job income. Not even paid off. They'd be close, but not really good. So yeah, I would definitely not take advice from somebody who owned rentals and lost them without taking that advice and doing exactly what you're doing now. Finding a community where there's a bunch of people who own rentals, some people who own hundreds and some people who own less than a dozen. But what are they doing? The ones who are keeping them, the ones that are retiring with them, the ones that are enjoying it, the ones that didn't make a job out of it. Okay, we're towards the end of the video. This will be some of the Thai questions if they come up. So I will understand if everybody needs to dip out because we're talking Thailand and retirement and enjoying life more so than we are about starting, getting there, maintaining, and building your portfolio. Chester, great way to put it. With multiple properties, if you make a mistake, you pay for it multiple times. Nice. Momo gets money. I don't even have a question today. I'm just happy to close my first multifamily last month in a house hack. Can't wait to do another house hack next year. Awesome. Congratulations. That's beautiful. How do you avoid the accidental landlord? How do you avoid food poisoning while there? There's actually some tips. Chesla did some research. No, I didn't have this experience. I did all of the things that she's saying not to. So you should eat in restaurants that have a building because they have a code, right? They have bottled water, foods at certain temperatures, they get inspected. Street vendors, where they've got the cauldron of the almost like pho. It's not pho, but it's almost like pho that they've been making for 3 years and it's never been turned off. It's never been not cooking. And they just keep adding new stuff to it. Supposed to avoid that. I eat out of those all the time. Me and David ate out of those all the time. Had no issues. Uh, there, I don't know about avoiding the food poisoning thing. Make sure it's cooked. Uh, we did one cook it yourself, kind of like a Korean barbecue, but it was a hot pot. Make sure the temperature's right on that. I mean, just and the best thing now with AI is when you're in a new country and you go to do anything, just ask AI. Somebody has written it on a travel blog somewhere.
Yes.
And Chesla's really big on going to the reviews online. And we found a few places that had 0 reviews. Don't go there. And we found 1 or 2 places that had mid reviews that were really good. So just because some people had a bad experience, how recent were the reviews? Yeah, to avoid food poisoning, probably avoid the food. So when you're in Thailand, there's like tiers of a location. So like Bangkok is bigger than LA. It's like population size and everything. You can get everything that's in a city. But if you go to Khao San Road, it's the tourist attraction for the backpackers. So that's not food. That's a street of street vendors that go, if you were going to cook or eat the most bizarre things you could think of, scorpions dipped in chocolate, squids with lime or whatever, just weird things, they sell it there to basically laugh at tourists who eat it. They're not eating that. They charge you 10 baht to take a picture because it's such a weird looking food. You get off of that street, you get out here, there's none of that here. The closest is they do eat a lot of squid and octopus. I don't know if that's the same thing or not, because I went to school in America. They don't teach us nothing. But it's Thai food, it's Irish pubs, it's uh, well, Chinese restaurants, Japanese restaurants. There's a ton of great food here, and none of it is the weird stuff that you see in the YouTube videos. Because who's going to go, oh, this place had tomahawk steaks with mashed potatoes and au jus sauce if you wanted it and all this stuff for like cost of a McDonald's meal at home. A 1-person Happy Meal would be the cost of 2 people eating tomahawk steaks here. That doesn't make a good YouTube video. They want to go see the weird stuff dipped in chocolate. Get away from the tourist attractions to get to the real culture. The one thing that's really cool about Thailand is their culture matters to them, right? If you move to the United States from anywhere and you live there for a year or 2, you can call yourself an American. If you're from the US, you call yourself an American. You don't say, I'm a United Statesian. You say, you're American, right? You can live in Thailand for 50 years. You're not Thai. You live in Colombia for 50 years. You're not Colombian. You move to Ireland for 50 years. You're not Irish. So we're used to being in the US where it's bad to celebrate your culture, right? You can't have a White Lives Matter t-shirt and not get shot at a campus, right? But here, Thai culture really matters. There's actually plaques on everything saying whatever event happened there or how important it is, unless you get around the tourist stuff. And then it's just weird. So try to get away from that whenever you can. Josh, the LLC is a pain in the butt when starting out. Yes, it could be fine later. We don't have many 2 to 4 units in our area. In good areas, 2 to 4 units seem to be in less desirable areas. Am I being overly cautious in that I wouldn't buy in an area I wouldn't live in myself? I'll buy in all kinds of areas that I wouldn't live in. Will enough people want to live there, and will there not be a lot of turnover? So if there's not a lot of turnover, it's fine. But when you say there's not a lot of 2 to 4 units, Bradley, there's 3 Bradleys here today. How are you looking? Because they don't show up on Zillow, they don't show up on Redfin, they're not on Realtor.com. My deals popped up on those after I closed, and they showed up as pending. They are only on the MLS. And then once a deal happens, they'll show up on Redfin, Zillow, or Realtor. So it's possible that you're in an area where there aren't that many. but you have no clue until you've had 3 or 4 agents set up auto searches because they each search differently. I have a copy and paste email. This is what I'm looking for. This is the footprint I'm looking in. This is what my disqualifiers are. And I send it to the agents and they all send me different deals, completely different deals on the MLS. So are you searching on the MLS? Do you have multiple agents searching for you? And then if they don't show up, sure, I agree, they're not there. So are you missing the asset class that is missed by most investors? The house with the ADU. Now, when I say ADU, people's brains shut off and you think 1,200 square feet or less, 3, 2, or 1 bedroom, usually smaller, usually behind the other building. That's not what a house with an ADU is. There are houses with ADUs that are 2 5-bedroom houses on one parcel. I own a house with an ADU. It's a 2,500 square foot house and a duplex on one property. It's my triplex. It's a house with an ADU. I never would have heard of it, never would have saw it if I didn't have a search set up for house with ADU, DADU, JADU, accessory dwelling unit, auxiliary dwelling unit, granny flat, mother-in-law house, like everything that the listing agent might have thought it was called. The reason you want to look for that is because investors are looking for small multifamily, duplex, triplex, fourplex. They're not looking for ADU. Homeowners don't want, they looked and they said, oh, there's a house. Well, it comes with a duplex. Why would I buy that? That's stupid. Then they look for whatever else. So you eliminate a lot of the competition and they exist in every market. There are markets now where people are being encouraged to build them, but that's not what I want. I don't want a new build and I don't want to build one myself. I want to find something from a long time ago that was 2 living units or more on one property that is considered a single family house with an ADU. And again, until you search MLS for multiple agents, you will have no idea if they exist there or not. Multi-member LLCs provide charging order protection because if one member can be sued. That's exactly it. If you have partners, there's 2 times I really recommend having an LLC. If you have partners outside of your spouse, or your lending requires it. If you're using some kind of hard money or DSCR loan and that lender says, yeah, it's got to be in an LLC, sure, play the game. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you're first, Bo Rivers, there's a couple of Bo's. If your first deal is a bad deal and you learned after deal 3 to 4 how bad it was, would you sell your first deal at a loss? I would do a comparison on how much are you losing. Is it a bad deal because it's giving you turnover headache? So Matt the lumberjack landlord sold a triplex because it was his most turnover. So I would, is it a headache you're getting rid of, or is mathematically, does it make sense to cut your losses? So I would look at a couple of different reasons there as to whether I was keeping it or not. I tried to get rid of my first one, but was underwater. I would have gave it away. I couldn't afford to give it away at the loss that I would have had to. But I think I would have, and I was able to. I don't know that I'd own any rentals and I'd be working another 15 years. And construction starting. Mike Storm, I spent this, probably wrapping this up. I spent a month traveling through Thailand and ate the street vendors all the time. It was really awesome. And I never got sick. But of course I didn't eat anything weird. Yeah, I eat at the street vendors all the time. And the last comment, crazy, literally just opened your book to start reading and then seeing this was live on YouTube. Awesome. You guys have a day full of amazing. I am going to go and figure out what we're doing today. It's the rough life of, we have done everything in Chiang Mai that we cared to. It was beautiful. We head south tomorrow, overnight train rides, 2 of them. You rent an entire cabin for what the translation was about $42. So whatever baht that was, it's about $42 to have a cabin for an overnight train ride with a food car and an alcohol car. Have a day full of amazing. There will be a video coming out Thursday and a video coming out Saturday, and there will be a live stream next Tuesday. Ciao.